This program is made possible through generous donations from viewers like you. To pledge your support, please visit aroodawakening.tv/give. Thank you.
Well, apparently the disciples did not listen very well. You'd think that if you're following the Messiah, you'd pay attention to the things he said. But he had to repeat himself, even with one of the most important things he ever said, what's known as the Lord's Prayer. Now, if you have a regular Bible, you would never know that he had to do this. But thanks to the chronological Gospels, we can show you what was going on while he was teaching this prayer pattern, and maybe even read between the lines a little bit to learn a greater lesson. After all, learning is something we do on the 6th day after the sun is set on Shabbat Night Live.
Be a great show tonight.
It will be.
Stand by, studio. 30 seconds.
Thank you. 1 minute's air, Michael.
Ah, thanks, man.
All right.
Thanks, Ellie.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, Torah fans. Welcome to Shabbat Night Live. If you had to stand in line at the gym this week, well, you're not alone. It's that time of year when everyone feels they need to get healthy for a few weeks. Speaking of getting healthy, if you'd like to be healthy all year long, we have a way for you to do that. You can watch The Health Awakening. It's a Bible-based internet TV health show that we produce right here at Rood Awakening, and you can watch it anytime online at avivtv.com/health. Now, before we get into anything else on the agenda today, please welcome my co-host for this evening. She is the Director of Ministry Development for Rood Awakening International, Annie Reed.
Happy Sabbath.
Happy Sabbath, Annie. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Very good, thank you. So, we are in the beginning of a new pagan year, and of course that's what all of the television networks follow. Mm-hmm. And so we have some reruns, if that's what you want to call them, or replays of the chronological Gospels.
Exactly, and that's because right now we're filming season 2 of the chronological Gospels. So we're excited about the new season. It's going to be a very different perspective than what the first season was. But yes, we're on new networks as well.
Yes, we're on, now let's see, we're on Uplift TV.
Correct.
Which is on Direct, and that's channel 369, I believe, something like that, yep.
That sounds right.
Yep, and, and 262 on Sky Angel.
That's right.
So that's where we are there. And you can watch that, well, we might as well just give all the times right now. Yeah, you can watch on Sky Angel, like we said. It's Dish Network Channel 262. That starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can also watch it Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And, of course, you can watch Shabbat Night Live on Sky Angel as well. That's 6 p.m. Eastern every Friday. And as we were just talking about, if you have DirecTV, you can now also watch the chronological Gospels on Uplift, channel 379. I think I said 369, 379. That's twice on Wednesdays, plus Fridays and Sundays, and Shabbat Night Live at 9 p.m. there, Eastern every Friday. Plus, our friends in Canada now can watch both Shabbat Night Live and the chronological Gospels on Hope TV. That's a brand new thing starting this weekend. We're very excited about it. You can check your local times for that. It's going to be different in different parts of the country. And if you don't have access to any of that, you can still watch chronological Gospels every weekend online at avivtv.com. And you can see a full schedule at avivtv.com/schedule.
Exciting times right now for Rood Awakening, and we're excited that you're here with us. We know that we have thousands of people watching Shabbat Night Live on a regular basis, but we also have people that come in and out watching Shabbat Night Live that have never seen us before. So if you're new to Shabbat Night Live this evening here on YouTube or on Sky Angel, Uplift TV, or Hope TV, we have some goodies for you. You can contact us. We'll send you 2 free DVDs of Michael Rood's classics, The Red Sea Crossing. Did you know that they found chariots at the bottom of the Red Sea? And Sodom and Gomorrah. You'll love these. They will just reaffirm your faith and give you a clear understanding that the scriptures are true. We'll also send you a catalog, and the catalog will showcase all of our products, but it also has coupons throughout the entire catalog for all of our products. It'll give you some details about a Rood Awakening and some new products that are being released on a monthly basis. So.
Yeah, it's that DVD set is great to have, and once you're done with it, it's great to pass on to friends because you'll watch it and go, oh, you know, so and so has got to see this, and you can just pass it along, and there's some information there as well, and it's all free, right?
That's right. Please contact us, especially for those that have been watching Shabbat Night Live for years and have never reached out to this ministry. Become a part of this ministry. Get to know us. We'd love to get to know you. We
have a brand new love gift this month. The love gift is something we like to give to folks who support the ministry, and it's a gift we like to give back. And this month it is episode 13 of Michael's 20-episode Love Gift teaching series. So he's been doing this for 13 months now. And it is Hanukkah, shining the light in darkness. Now you might say, well, Hanukkah was last month, and didn't you have a teaching then? Well, yeah, we did, but that was all based on what happened to the Maccabees and Judah the Hammer and all that type of thing from the Apocrypha. And this one reviews that, but then also gets into what Yeshua or Jesus did at Hanukkah at the temple. He did something very significant. I'm not going to give it away because it's a great story.
Well, I'm excited to hear that story. I know that the previous teaching was very popular. So if you received the last teaching, this is a part 2. You have to hear this. I mean, it's the prophecy, or not a prophecy, but it's the scriptures being fulfilled in a sense.
Right, and actually Hanukkah, even though it's not, one of the biblically commanded feasts, it does it hints of what's going to happen in the end times. It's sort of, this thing happened to the Maccabees, but it's also going to happen to us in the end times. So it's worth it to take note and see what happened to them. And also, so this is one part of the love gift. The other part is these beautiful candlesticks.
Olive wood.
Olive wood, yeah. Isn't it? I mean, these are, I don't even understand how they carved that, to be honest with you. It's beautiful.
And you talk about the details that go into this. I mean, we're very blessed to have these as love gifts for your Shabbat table or just any day, any occasion. So the DVD alone is a donation of $50, and then the candlesticks with the DVD is a donation of $100. And we appreciate your support. I know a lot of people comment as to, why can't everything be free? And we'd love for that opportunity to come one day for everything to be free that we offer. But those that do support us with this monthly love gift really make a difference. They allow us to go on air and to reach the unbeliever, which is why we're all here. Right, and that's why we give this as a gift. It's not a $50 DVD. It's if you give a gift of $50, we give you the DVD. We want to bless you in return. Yeah, it's a gift to say thank you. It's not you're buying the DVD. It's not like that. But again, these olive wood. These are made in Israel. Yes. And these are extra special. It's something you can put on display, and that's what we try and do with the love gifts. We have things where you can put around your house and explain to guests coming in your house, where do you get these things? Why do you have these? And it's a chance to share your faith, and the fact that it's from Israel is even better. That's right. You're supporting two things at once. That's right. Now, don't forget, you can also get a slipcase to hold all 20 of Michael's teachings in this series, including the Hanukkah series. It's at aroodawakening.tv/slipcase. It's only $4.95, and then holds everything all together in your bookcase. Great thing to have. And also, now we have something coming up soon, Passover. Yes. Passover is upon us. That's right. It's only a few months away, and we have an incredible Passover planned, something that we have never done before. I believe that there's even dancing that's going to be involved. Wow. We're going to have an amazing youth program. We have Chris Knight that has agreed to come on board this Passover event. He usually does a lot of work with youths at youth camps, and he's known throughout the entire Messianic world in working with youth. So we're excited to have him as the youth leader at this conference. It's our first time ever doing something for the youth. Now, youth being 13, correct? 13 to 17, I think is what we said, yeah. So, and our children's program, which last year was fun, but this year it's going to be better. Yeah, it's going to be a great hit. And of course, as always, you have Michael's unforgettable journey. I'm not even going to call it a story or storytelling. Right. He takes you on a journey through the Passover, and you'll just feel like you're right there at the table with Yeshua and the disciples. It's an amazing way he tells the whole story of the Passover. And of course, we're doing that. Lots of great things. It's going to be April 14th to 16th, so don't miss out on that. You can get all the details at PassoverCharlotte.com. We hope to see you there.
That's right, and we're planning on having a lot of people here, so don't worry about space considerations or anything like that. There's going to be a ton of room to accommodate everyone. It's going to be a great time.
It'll be an event unlike any other. If you have never attended a Passover, and if you have attended a Passover in the past, this will be completely different. Michael has stepped it up an entire notch. I mean, it's
not the same story every year either. He always, it's like you said, it's always better every time. So we can't wait to see this one. It's going to be great.
And we'll give you more details as it comes upon us.
Absolutely, yes. Now, we're also on Hebrew Nation Radio, if you didn't know that, if you haven't caught us there yet.
That's right. It's actually a radio station out of Oregon, but they do a lot of things online. So they have our podcast available for you.
Wonderful.
Of Shabbat Night Live. So if you've missed this episode, or if you are missed ones in the past, you can catch us there on your podcast and just download it to your phone.
And it's easy to find. You just look for the picture of Shabbat Night Live, and you'll see it there, and all the podcasts available for download.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special bulletin from A Rood Awakening International. Here's Michael Rood.
Well, several weeks ago, I came into the office and I said, okay, everything stops right now. I need this recorded. I need to get this up on the internet right now. And we're going to start out with Zechariah's thermonuclear war, which just aired. In that particular teaching, what I laid out is not only a prophecy that Zechariah saw in antiquity of this flying scroll, the 34.5 feet long, 5.5 feet in diameter, with an evil fire offering in it that comes against the land of Israel, that is set up in the land of Shinar, detailing that very thing put before you. And I said at that time that if you think that our first Muslim president is going to go away quietly, you are deluding yourself. And I said, watch what happens at Hanukkah in Purim. Now we've seen what has happened at Hanukkah, and it is the preparation, ladies and gentlemen, of an absolute bloodbath. It was on Tishri 1 this year, the Day of Trumpets, that this is when I had Kamal Salim come in, a former terrorist, not a terrorist that drops bombs on himself. No, he smuggled weapons and bombs into Israel from Syria through the back gates to be used against Israeli citizens. But then he was trained by the KGB to infiltrate into the United States as a political terrorist to set things up in the United States for the overthrow of America. He is intelligentsia. That's why we had him on. I asked him plainly, do you know what Obama's job was as far as his mission from the Muslim Brotherhood and from the powers that be? And he laid it out explicitly. What his job was is to turn every nation that was friendly or neutral to Israel into Muslim Brotherhood, and every nation that was positive to the West into the Muslim Brotherhood. And that is exactly what Obama has accomplished. There is one thing yet to accomplish. He said there will be a Palestinian state before he leaves office. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a threat of war. It is a threat of annihilation to the entire nation of Israel. And it was at that time that Kamal came on. It was at that time that Nehemiah Gordon said, at this point, after 20 years, I'm leaving my responsibility to other people as far as reporting the new moon for the biblical calendar. I'm leaving that responsibility because he has another mission in life to accomplish. And I believe, ladies and gentlemen, the last time when we had Nehemiah on last week, he began to elucidate on these things as very few Bible scholars could possibly do. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us again, right here, right now, Nehemiah Gordon from Texas. Nehemiah, welcome back. Thank you for being with us.
Shalom, Michael. It's great to be back.
Nehemiah, and now we talked about this as far as what was going on, Kerry's speech and what Obama began to put in place at the time of Hanukkah. And we not only saw that at the time of Hanukkah, as you elucidated very affectionately last time, but it goes back before then, does it not?
Oh, Michael, this stuff, we have this idea in the Tanakh, which we call Maseh Avot Siman Lebanim. The actions of the fathers are signs for the children. And the clearest example of that is Abraham going down to Egypt and having the issues he has with Pharaoh. And then Jacob goes down to Egypt and Joseph, and they have these issues with Pharaoh. History repeats itself. That's this theme in the Tanakh. And I see history repeating itself here, Michael. We had this in the time of Simon the Maccabee, that the Greek emperor Antiochus VII said, "Return the land you took from me." And he says, by name, Jerusalem. He says, "Return Jaffa," which is Tel Aviv, and return Jerusalem and Gezer. And he says, "We haven't taken anybody's land. This is the land of our ancestors that we liberated from our enemies who took it from us." And this reminds me of what happened in the time of Jephthah. Jephthah was during the period of the judges, and they get a demand from the king of the Ammonites. And he says, "You have occupied territory, return it to me. You Jews have stolen this territory from the Ammonites." And there's this great line where Jephthah tries to speak to him in his terms. And when you hear this, at first it's disturbing. Wait, what is Jephthah talking about here? He doesn't exactly mean here, let me read it. It's Judges 11:24. And first, I love it because he starts out in Judges 11 and he gives the king of the Ammonites a history lesson. He says, God took us out of Egypt and he brought us into this land, and we tried to make peace with the Amorites, and the Amorites attacked us, and so we conquered land from them, and God gave us that land. And he says, is it not that which Chemosh was the god of the Ammonites? He said, that which Chemosh has given you as an inheritance, will you not inherit it? And all that Yehovah, our God, has given us as an inheritance, should we not inherit it? Our God gave us this land hundreds of years ago, and you're demanding it back, even though you've never actually ruled it. We took it from the Amorites. We didn't take it from you. And what an amazing parallel. We didn't conquer a single centimeter of land in Israel from the Palestinians. We liberated it from the Egyptians and the Jordanians, who had 19 years to establish a Palestinian state between 1948 and 1967, but they weren't interested in a Palestinian state. Nobody was interested in a Palestinian state in the Arab world until Israel liberated the West Bank and Gaza from Egypt and Jordan. Then all of a sudden then they established, the PLO, the Palestine Liberation Organization, and the Palestinians need to have a state. It's history repeating itself. What happened in the time of Jephthah, Netanyahu should write this to the Palestinians. He should say, if Allah gave you land as an inheritance, that wouldn't you believe that to be your land? And Yehovah has given us this land as an inheritance. It's unbelievable, the parallels here. We're dealing with the United Nations and John Kerry and Barack Obama, and it's the same story that happened in the time of Hanukkah in 134 BC in Simon the Maccabee, and the same story in the time of Jephthah. Michael, I just saw recently the new Star Wars movie, Rogue One.
Tell us about it.
And there's this great line at the beginning of the movie where they go to the scientist whose job it is to make the Death Star. This is kind of a prequel to the first movie in the 70s, 77. And they go to this guy, Galen Erso, and they say, look, this will bring peace to the galaxy, because if anybody rebels, we'll just destroy their planet. It's the United Nations is the evil empire.
Right,
really
right. It's the United Nations is the Death Star.
It really is. And he says, you're confusing peace with terror. That's the quote. You're confusing peace with terror. And I heard that. I'm like, oh, wow. That summarizes 8 years of the Obama administration. We go to the Iranians and say, we want to have peace. Hold off making nuclear weapons for 10 years. In history, 10 years is the blink of an eye. Are you kidding me? The entire foreign policy of Obama, let's go to Cairo and tell the Arabs we're sorry. Are you kidding me? So, and that then led to the Arab Spring. So we have, this line from Star Wars, I actually thought, wait, so did the writer of Star Wars realize in Rogue One that they're summarizing the Obama administration for 8 years and the entire Oslo process in Israel? You're confusing peace with terror. That's exactly what's going on.
That is incredible. You said it so beautifully in Hebrew. The English, the actions of the Father are the examples. Again, I want to make sure I got that quote right.
Well, so it's literally Maaseh Avot Siman Lebanim. The actions of the fathers are signs for the sons.
Signs for the sons. Beautiful. Yeah. And that, I speak of this as prophetic shadow pictures. Shaul, who is a Pharisee rabbi, he said the things that were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comforts of the scriptures might have hope. so that, we can see what has happened in the past. And if we repeat the past, we will have the same results. If we step away, repent, and do things right, we will not see these same things. But we see the world coming down on Israel right now. And I want to give you my take on this, because I was dealing with this Jephthah thing just a couple of weeks ago. And I saw that the Ephraimites, their brothers, their Ephraimites refused to go into the battle with them. They said that they were brothers, but they didn't go into the battle in the heat of the battle, and then they wanted to come after Jephthah. And so what Jephthah did is that he took Beit Abarah, and that's where Yeshua was baptized, Beit Abarah, the ford of the crossing over, and he took it, and the Ephraimites who could not speak the language, could not say Shibolet, but could only say Sibolet. In other words, they could say Jesus, but they couldn't say Yeshua. They couldn't say the Shin. It says that they killed 42,000 of them. And I equate this, those that want to equate themselves as Ephraimites and consider themselves Christians or Ephraimites, it's like, are these people, are they going to stand with Israel at this time, or are they going to end up in the slaughter as well? I think that that's what we're looking at, Nehemiah. The Almighty is going to repeat this thing. The people that say that they're brothers to Israel and don't stand with Israel in the heat of the battle, when this thing goes nuke, then they are going to get toasted themselves.
Well, Michael, if you look back at the events with Hanukkah, and we talked about last week, we talked about Simon the Maccabee, and there was this garrison in the heart of Jerusalem. And what I didn't get a chance to mention, I talk about this in a study I have online in my series. It's called War Without End. And so the actual people who were manning this garrison, most of them weren't Greeks. They were actually Jews. They were Jews who wanted to be Greeks. They didn't want to be Israelites. And so they went to the king, the emperor, Antiochus IV, and they said, look, we want to be part of your empire. We don't want to be circumcised. We don't want to keep the Sabbath. We want to do what you guys do, but we have these religious fanatics, these priests who they won't let us do this. Can you make it against the law to circumcise their children? Make it against the law to keep Sabbath. This was all instigated by the Jews who said, "Hey, Greeks, come in and help us out here. Help us be more Greek." And boy, isn't that a theme in history of the actions of the fathers being signs for the children? Because I think we see that in the world today, that there's people who say, we got to stop this Judaizing. We've got to stop these people who are being too Jewish, and we've got to be more Greek. And it's not just that I want to be more. In order for me to be more Greek, I've got to force the other people around me to be more Greek. And I've got to get the authorities involved. I've got to make it against the law to say certain things so that I can force assimilation upon people. And boy, is that not happening today, and it happened in ancient times.
War Without End. It's on your site. Tell us about it.
There's this. Excuse me, Michael. I mentioned the Star Wars movie. I don't know if you know this, but there's a scene in the original, or in The Empire Strikes Back, actually, one of the original movies, where Luke Skywalker is taking down an AT-AT. Those are the Imperial Walkers, these giant things. And that is based directly off of an event that took place in the time of Hanukkah.
That's right, the elephant.
That's right. The elephants. So there's a scene where the Jews are going up against elephants, and they've never seen anything like this. They have no chance. There are these giant things coming at them, and Eleazar, who's the brother of Judah the Maccabee, gets under the elephant and kills it. And then it falls on him and kills him. And you have that exact scene happen in Star Wars, except for Luke Skywalker gets away. And you think, wait a minute, this is just a coincidence. Well, no, a lot of the people involved in the production of Star Wars were Jewish, and they knew the story from their youth, just like I did. And when I saw that, I immediately saw the connection. This is Luke Skywalker is Eleazar, the brother of Judah the Maccabee. So I talk about this in my series War Without End, and I share this incredible discovery of the Greek garrison, the Acropolis, that was discovered just a few years ago. It completely changes the picture of what we understood about this period of the Maccabees, and the parallels is uncanny, Michael.
I am so thankful to hear that, because every year on my tour we have the guide there at the center, at the excavation site, take us through, because of the things that continue to be unveiled, and the paintings, the drawings have to be redone just about every other year, because as you go deeper into this archaeological site, more and more is revealed. I'm so excited to hear about this, and I believe that, you know, that the rocks are crying out right now. The testimony that's coming out of the ground is a witness for all generations. The Almighty is still in charge of the universe, and you choose which side you want to get on.
You know, you use that expression, the rocks crying out, and I can't help but think of, you know, our Hamas, which rules over Gaza. In their charter, they have this passage from the Hadith, from Islamic tradition, which says, on the final day, the rocks will cry out, say, there's a Jew and a Christian behind me, so that you can come slaughter the Jew and the Christian. And we have this image in the Tanakh of the rocks and the trees crying out, and there, what they're crying out is they're announcing that peace has come to the world. You know, our prophetic messianic hope is Isaiah 2, that they'll beat their swords into plowshares and there'll be eternal peace, and not that we'll be able to slaughter people who don't agree with us. I mean, what a different vision for the future. And I think the world has to choose now. Do you want this vision of the future of war, or do you want a vision of the future of peace? And my God is a God of peace. You know, in the priestly blessing, he says, may Jehovah bless you and keep you. May Jehovah shine his face upon you, be gracious towards you. May Jehovah lift his face towards you and give you peace. It's that promise of ultimate peace that will bring the war without end finally to an end.
And with that, we're going to close. Thank you, Nehemiah.
Amen.
Shalom.
This has been a special report from A Rood Awakening International. We now join your regularly scheduled programming already in progress.
From the cunning strategy planned against the Almighty's people, to the impossibility of their escape, and the miracle of their faith-driven victory, this is the incredible story of Hanukkah. In captivating detail, Michael Rood weaves an historical tapestry to share the behind-the-scenes account of the Maccabees in Hanukkah, shining the light in darkness.
They want to destroy us, and to destroy our wives, and to kill our children, and to take everything that we've got. But we're fighting for our lives, and we're fighting for the Torah.
Hanukkah, Shining the Light in Darkness, is an all-new teaching from Michael Rood, but the only way you can get it is with your love gift donation in January.
They knew this was the end of the nation. If they didn't fight, it would be gone.
Own Hanukkah, Shining the Light in Darkness, right now when you give a love gift donation of $50 or more. Or give $100 or more to get this new teaching, plus a pair of solid olive wood candlesticks, elegantly handcrafted in Israel and polished to perfection. Get the candlesticks now, plus Michael Rood's amazing teaching that explains how the story of Hanukkah is a living prophecy, from the time of the Maccabean revolt to Yeshua's subsequent healing of a man born blind, to our lives today and the end of days.
And as their testimony of these Hanukkite warriors who gave their lives to protect and preserve the Torah, and to get things cleaned up and their lives cleaned up, and to live a life of service.
Act now to get Michael Rood's new teaching, Hanukkah, Shining the Light in Darkness, plus the solid olive wood candlesticks. Hurry, this offer is only available in January. Make your love gift donation now, online or by phone.
The composite of the gospel records tell us that before the Passover lamb was sacrificed the following morning, that Yeshua had his Last Supper with his disciples, in which he took bread, arton, leavened bread, and he took wine, and he said, "This represents my body, which will be broken for you. This cup represents my shed blood, which will pay for the iniquity." It is this very thing that the Melchizedek shared with Abraham. As Yeshua said, Abraham saw my day and rejoiced. And when the Melchizedek brought forth bread and wine, he shared with them about the coming of the Messiah, about his broken body, about his shed blood. And Abraham gave a tenth of everything that he owned and laid it at the feet of the Melchizedek. He saw Yeshua's day and he rejoiced. And so now, every time we do this, every Sabbath, every meal in which there's bread and wine, in which we take this and we bless the Most High. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Blessed are you, Yehovah, our Elohim, King of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. Yeshua said, this is my body, which is broken for you. As often as you do it in remembrance of me. And then Yeshua took the cup, and he said, blessed are you, Yehovah, our Elohim, King of the universe, who brings forth the fruit of the vine, the creator of the fruit of the vine. And every time we do this, we do remember his death and what he did for us until he comes. One day at the marriage supper of the Lamb, Yeshua will lift his cup and say, I have not had a drop of this, as I promised at the Last Supper. I've been waiting for you. Now, l'chaim, to life everlasting. Were you not born for such a time as this? Or are you just an extra on the set? This is a series that I am interrupting everything that we have planned in this ministry to put out, because this is the course of revelation that came to me during these many years in ministry. And I am very hesitant and reticent to say that the Lord told me anything except when he does speak, which is rarely and has always been a life-changing event. And it has never been something I would call completely positive either. Every time there has been a revelation, there has been a test that has gone along with this. And we see this in the book of Hebrews. It says that the prophets were all tested, that they were stoned, they were sawed asunder, and they were slain with a sword. And this was the test of the prophet. Are they going to handle this thing, or are they going to crater when the going gets tough on it? And no one had to go through worse things than what we see Isaiah, who was cut in half after he was put inside of a carob tree trunk so that he would be sawn through very slowly, trying to get him to recant his words. We saw that Zechariah, he was actually stoned in the temple. We see that Zechariah, the father of John the Baptist, was also slain with the sword when he refused to give up the location of his son. These words that come from heaven are done for the body of believers, for those who are really called, the servants of the Messiah. Just as the book of the Revelation is not real positive reading for most people, because it is the revelation of Yeshua the Messiah which God gave to him for him to show unto his doulos, his sold out bond slaves, the things which must shortly, swiftly come to pass. And once they begin transpiring, they come down so fast that you won't even be able to catch your breath when this takes place. So his servants need to know in advance the things that are going to transpire. And that is why we are putting this out right at this particular point in time. And I started out the series just this last week with the warning that goes out to the false prophets, those pseudo-propheticos, those who make things up and borrow and steal words one from another and say, this is the word of the Lord, and it's not the word of the Lord. It says that he is going to bring forth a curse that they're going to end up dead. And so I felt that that was appropriate to do, because what I am sharing with you and where we are going to go on this journey was first articulated in 2006, when at the end of the 10-hour Jonah Code series, I said that I have more to share with you concerning 2017, but I cannot do it at this time. I had to wait till the confirmation came, and that confirmation did not come until August of 2016. And so now we're stopping everything. And I really feel I needed to do this, and the timing is perfect. Bill Cloud presented things in his series on the edge of the age of redemption, which I knew was prophetic. He sees things and understands things and has been given insight from heaven that is a gift to the body of believers. He is a true minister, and I am very thankful that I had the opportunity of meeting him, because it's very few times in life that I get someone that actually ministers to me, and I look for it. And Bill Cloud is one who is called prophetically. His calling is sure by heaven. And when I heard him and we first sat down together, I knew that I was in the presence of a man of God, someone who doesn't make things up, but hears from heaven. And now I believe that he has set the stage to where I can then lay these things out to those who are still standing and can still hear. The order of events, I would love to take you through from 1995 and the first revelation that came concerning the mystery of iniquity, the legal prerequisites to the return of the Messiah, and then on to 1996 with the Messiah confirming the covenant. I would like to take you step by step in what transpired, but for some reason I feel like I need to move right to 2008. And I guess we'll see how things work out to why you need to know this at this particular point in time. Because again, I am recording this as soon as I finished up with the 13th episode, the first season of the Chronological Gospels. I immediately left the office. I drove 4 hours to begin laying out this revelation. I got a few hours sleep, and then another 8-hour drive up to Michigan, a few hours sleep, and a day of rest, and then again in Grand Rapids. And I felt like I needed to come back and do this immediately to get this information into your hands. It was 2008. It was 2 years after the Jonah Code, in which at the Jonah Code I said that I was going to be working on next is doing the Chronological Gospels. But it was at the time of the Jonah Code, when I laid this out, that I had an attempted hostile takeover of my ministry. Besides taking everything and attempting to take everything, all of my work that I had done and produced for my whole life, when that failed, then they tried to destroy all of my work. All of the videos, all the audios, everything that was done, they attempted to get in and have it all destroyed. And when that failed, then what I did is they said that they had the legal right to do so. So I asked a federal judge to make a ruling on this. And at the end, I had everything back in my hands, but I had to start over from scratch at that point. That was 2007. Now it's 2008, and this is when the next revelation comes. I am in the Galilee. It is a time that we have some relative peace. I am sitting on my front porch overlooking the Sea of Galilee with a cup of coffee and the Bible in my hand, and we have the Feast of Trumpets that is coming up. And I am praying, what do I do for the Feast of Trumpets? What is the significant point for this year? What is the word of the Almighty for this Feast of Trumpets, Yom Teruah? And I heard very clearly, very distinctly, teach Balaam. I had no question. I am going to teach Balaam, but I have absolutely no idea why I'm going to teach Balaam or what it is about Balaam that I'm going to teach. I have no idea. I hadn't read the story about Balaam in probably years at that point. I just know that, in the book of Revelation, he's used as an example. In Jude, he's used as an example. But I really need to go back and look at it because it has literally been years. But I hear a voice, and this voice tells me, teach Balaam, and then I speak it out with my mouth. Teach Balaam, teach Balaam. And that for me is so many times, this is how the revelation comes. I hear it and I speak it out of my mouth because I've heard it and then I speak it out. And that is how I know that this is how the Holy Spirit speaks because it is first implanted in a way of hearing. And this word of knowledge, this word of wisdom that comes, and then I speak it out, and then it all transpires before me. And to start out, I'll go back to the year 2002. This is when we are ramping up our production in Israel. We had filmed in 2001, right after the Feast of Tabernacles. We did our first filming on Sodom and Gomorrah on borrowed equipment. Came back to the United States. Reggie White gave me a call, asked me to come to his home and to stay with him there here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he took me into his big movie theater and put on Sodom and Gomorrah. And he said, I want to be involved in this. And so Reggie and Sarah White were the ones that first bought us our equipment I said, I don't need to own it forever, just, I'll give it back to you as soon as I'm through with it. Well, it was Reggie White that first took a stand with us, and so now we're ready to ramp things up. We move over to Israel, and it is, we are looking for a larger apartment because we're in a very small apartment. The people that are with us, we're working together, but we're literally sleeping on mats on the floor. There's not enough room to do the work there. And so people have joined us from the United States, and we cannot find a place to stay. We're driving down the street, and Perry Challenger was with us at this time, and his glasses had broken. The screws had fallen out. Something was wrong with his glasses. And as we were going down the street, he was trying to look at a map. His glasses fell off, and I said, your glasses are going to lead us to where we're going to live. A half block later, I see on the right-hand side, as we're going down Shemai Street, I see on the right-hand side an optometrist, and there's a parking spot right in front of it, which you don't find parking spots in downtown Jerusalem. We pulled in, we walk in, and the man begins working on Perry's glasses, and he asked, why are you here? We said, while we were there. And he said, and that we're looking for an apartment. And he said, my brother is a realtor. He called me this morning and said an apartment just came on the market. It was being used by a captain in the Marine Corps who was working for the U.S. Embassy. They just moved out, and it's available. We went over there, ladies and gentlemen. That afternoon, I signed the lease on it. We were there for the next 5 years. That is when revelation information comes, word of knowledge, word of wisdom, discerning of spirits, faith, miracles, gifts of healing. These manifestations of the Spirit, they're not gifts of the Spirit, they're manifestations of the Spirit. And when they come, and you know and have learned to determine between what you want and your desires are and what the Spirit is saying, when your senses are exercised to discern between soul and spirit, then the Almighty can speak to you in this way. And in 2008, sitting on my patio with my cup of coffee, and I heard, teach Balaam, now I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to teach Balaam. Furthermore, I am going to do it in Detroit, Michigan, which is the highest concentration of Muslims in the United States of America. I call up the states and I say, I want the tallest building, and they get the tallest building in Detroit, which is the GM Center, because at sunset that begins Yom Teruah is going to be the end of Ramadan. And so I want to be there, and that is where we're going to sight the new moon from the top of that building. We are going to do this, and this is the first time that I get to present the beating of Balaam's ass, prophetically speaking. And I am going to take you there right now, because now this is Numbers chapter 22, verse 1. The children of Israel set forward and pitched in the plains of Moab on this side of Jordan, which is by Jericho. So it's on the other side of the Jordan River. Jericho is on the west side. We are all on the east side. We are in Moab. This is the very area that Israel is now all together. And it turns out that Balak It says, the son of Zippor saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites, and Moab was sore afraid of the people because they were so many, and Moab was distressed because of the children of Israel. They had seen what had happened to all the other nations, everyone that came up against Israel. They saw them decimated. Every place that Israel went, when they came out of Egypt, when they came up to the land that was going to be theirs, in order to have this land, nobody could stand against them. They were invincible. And everyone was afraid who was living there in the land of Moab and beyond. And so Balak is very nervous. He does not want Israel to come in and take the land, because Israel is told that all the land from the Euphrates to the Nile belongs to the sons of Israel. But Moses is told, and Joshua reinformed of this, that you're not going to get all of the land at once. I'm not going to drive out all the inhabitants at once. You're going to get a smaller portion because your number is not sufficient to inhabit the land. The wild beast will overtake it before your numbers are sufficient to have all the land from the Euphrates to the Nile, which includes all the areas where they chiseled the imprint of their sandaled feet during their 40 years of wandering in the wilderness at the 42 camping sites, where those chiseled imprints of their sandaled feet, their title deed to the land, chiseled in stone, is all over the peninsula of Saudi Arabia, and the Arabians know it. The artifacts are still there, littered over the entire peninsula. Nobody can stand before them. And now Balak is serious. He doesn't want them to take the land. And so Moab said to the elders of Midian, now shall this company lick up all that are round about us as the ox licks up the grass of the field. And Balak, the son of Zippor, was the king of the Moabites at that time. So he was the king. He was speaking to the people in Midian, in the land of Midian. And this goes down the land of Midian. Remember, northwest Saudi Arabia is the land of Midian. All of these kingdoms, all of these states all around, they are all now wanting to take out Israel. And the leader is going to be Balak. He sent messengers therefore unto Balaam, the son of Beor, to Pethor, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, and he's sending people to call him, saying, look, there's a people that have come out of Egypt. They cover the face of the earth, and they abide over against me. Verse 6, come now, I pray thee, and curse these people. They are too mighty for me. Peradventure that I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and then I might drive them out of the land. For I know that who you bless, they are blessed, and who you curse, they are cursed. So Balaam is a prophet of the Most High. We don't have any of his background, do not know where he comes from. Of course, there are rabbinic traditions on this, but again, as far as what we know historically, we only know that this is a prophet of Yehovah and one who calls upon Yehovah. He knows his name. You don't know his name, you're in trouble. And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the rewards of divination in their hand. And that when we speak of the world of divination, this is what the Midianites and the Moabites speak of when they're going to see a prophet. You take a gift when you go see the prophet. We read about this when Saul had lost the donkeys, and so they hear that, okay, they can go to Samuel the prophet, but they said, we don't have any gift to bring to him. Because that's what would be expected. You go see the man of God, you bring him a gift, a token of your appreciation. And here in Moab, the pagans call them the rewards of divination. All right? And they came to Balaam and spake unto him and said, he said to them, lodge here this night, I'll bring you word, as Yehovah shall speak unto me. And the princes of Moab abode with Balaam. So they sent their ambassadors with this word from Balak that come and curse these people. And God came unto Balaam and said, verse 9, what men are these with thee? And Balaam said, Balak, the king of Zippor, king of Moab, has sent unto me, saying, behold, there's a people that have come out of Egypt to cover the face of the earth, and I want you to come and curse them so that I can overcome them and drive them out. And then God said to Balaam, thou shalt not go with them. Thou shalt not curse the people. They are blessed. And so Balaam rose up in the morning and said to the princes, go back to your own land. Yehovah refused to give me leave to go with you. And the princes rose up, went back to Balak, and said, he refuses to come. He won't come and curse these people. And Balak then, verse 15, sent again more princes, more honorable than they, and they came to Balaam and said, thus saith Balak the son of Zippor, let nothing hinder you from coming to me. I will promote you unto very great honor. I will do whatever you say. Here is a blank check. Balak has signed it. You fill in the numbers, put as many zeros on it as you want, whatever it is, just do it, and he guarantees it. It's a blank check, do it. And Balaam said, if Balak would give me his whole house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the word of Yehovah, my God, to do less or more. But why don't you stay tonight and let me go speak to the Lord and see if he has changed his mind. And so God came to Balaam at night and said, if the men come to call thee, rise up and go with them. But yet the word which I say to you, unto you, that is what you will do. And it's now verse 21. And Balaam rose up in the morning, saddled his ass, and went with the princes of Moab. They didn't rise up and call him. He saddled his ass. He's outside the window, kicking his ass, trying to get it to make noise, and because he's going with them. He is not going by the revelation that he got from heaven. If, then do it. He didn't wait for the if. He didn't wait for the confirmation. The confirmation was waiting there for him, and he did not do it. He jumped the gun, and so God's anger was kindled because he went. And so then it says, verse 23, now he's right upon his ass, 2 servants were with him. The ass saw the angel of Yehovah standing in the way, his sword drawn in his hand, and his ass turned out of the way, and he went into a field. And so Balaam beat his ass to turn her back into the way. But then the angel of Yehovah stood in the path of the vineyards, a wall being on this side and a wall on the other side, a narrow place. And when the ass saw the angel of Yehovah, she thrust herself into the wall, crushed Balaam's foot against the wall, and he smote her again. The second time he beat Balaam's ass. And the angel of Yehovah went further and stood in a narrow place where there's no way to turn to the right or left. And the ass saw the angel of Yehovah, fell down under Balaam. And Balaam's anger was kindled, and he then took out his staff and just began mercilessly beating his ass. Then Yehovah opened the mouth of the ass, and she said unto Balaam, why have you done this to me? Why have you beaten me these 3 times? And Balaam said to the ass, because you mocked me. I wish I had a sword in my hand because I'd kill you right now. And the ass said, am I not your ass, which of you have ridden every day to this very day, all these years? And have I ever been known to do anything like this? And he said, no, but you've never spoken to me like this before either. Then Yehovah opened the eyes of Balaam. He saw the angel of Yehovah standing with his sword cocked, ready to take him out, and he bowed down his head, fell flat on his face. And the angel said, why have you smitten your ass these 3 times? I went out to kill you, but the ass saw me and turned away 3 times. Unless she had turned, I would have killed you, and I would have saved your ass alive. And then Balaam said unto the angel, I have sinned. I did not know that you were the one standing against me. If it displease you, I will go back again. And the angel then said, go with these men, but only speak the word that I speak unto you. So Balaam went with the princes of Balak. Now, he knows he is only to speak the word. It doesn't matter how much money, you only speak the word. So when Balak heard that Balak was come, verse 36, he went out to meet him at a city of Moab, which is on the border of Arnon, and which is at the utmost coast of the country. And Balak said unto Balaam, did I not earnestly send for thee? And why didn't you come to me? Am I not able to promote you unto a very great honor? And Balaam said to Balak, no, I'm here, but I don't have any power to say anything but the word that God puts in my mouth. That's the only thing that I'm going to speak. And so Balaam went with Balak, and they came to Kiriath Hudzot, and Balak offered oxen and sheep and sent to Balaam and to the princes that were with him. And they came to pass on the morrow, and so now Balak is assembling the princes, all of the kings, the princes, the principals, the leaders of all the smaller nations around. They're all gathered together, and he took him up to the high places of Baal so that they might see the utmost part of the people. And so now, these princes, these kings of all these nations, are then brought up to the high place, up to the pinnacle of a mountain, up to a summit. He unites the nations, the leaders of the nations, on a summit. It's a United Nations summit, ladies and gentlemen. And it's so that he can see all the people of Israel from that summit, and to curse these people to keep them from taking their land. All of the land from the Euphrates to the Nile belongs to the sons of Israel. The promise that was made to Abraham. Because 4,000 years ago, the creator of the heavens and the earth made an everlasting covenant with Abraham that all of the land from the Euphrates to the Nile belongs to the sons of Israel. Shockwaves will shake the earth when heaven reaches down to fulfill that promise. And every nation that stands against that covenant will find themselves on the battlefield against the Almighty. And that is exactly what we are going to see develop as Balaam is brought into the picture to curse Israel, to keep them from taking the land. And the United Nations meeting on the summit under the name of the Lord, Baal, which means the Lord, they are going to go up and see all of the people. And what happens, and what Balaam says to these people in the prophetic act is going to be replayed in our day and time. It's going to be replayed in front of the people on Yom Teruah, because the Almighty is going to punctuate this with a shockwave that still reaches around the world today, because he wants his people to know what is about to transpire. I'm going to take a short break. If you appreciate the honesty, the revelation, the truth that's going out, I need your help. I can only do this because you stand with me financially. That's how the lights stay on. That's how we get out by way of the internet. That just because you can watch this free of charge because you spent your thousands of dollars on your computer and you spend all this money every month so that you've got internet, that doesn't help me. That doesn't help. That is irresponsible for you to advantage, but not help to feed the ox that's treading out the corn. We are freely giving. It's your opportunity to freely give, because if you don't, you won't even hear what I'm saying. When this stuff comes down, it's all going to be over but the crying. You are just going to be an extra on the set. Or you have the opportunity. Maybe you were born for such a time as this. You're the one that makes the difference. You're the one who decides. Stand with us now. This is your opportunity. Don't shirk it, or you'll just be an extra on the set. We'll give you 2 minutes to make a decision. Thank you. Balak, the king of the Moabites, assembled all of the kings in the area up to the summit of a mountain. It is the mountain, the high place of Baal. The mountain of the Lord is how it would read in the Hebrew text. The mountain of the Lord, not the mountain of Jehovah, but of their false god, just called the Lord. Indistinct title, indistinct God. You can make up whatever you want when you've got a God named the Lord. That's why the biblical God is named Yehovah. That is his name, that is his nature, it is what he is. There's no way of confusing him with just the Lord. You know, my sweet Lord, George Harrison, what Lord is he talking about? Well, he finally let you know. You know, the Lord of the Muslims, the fictitious moon god Allah. No, this is Yehovah. And they bring him up to the mountain of the Lord, the indistinct God that can be worshiped any way that you want to. And it is there that chapter 23, verse 1, Balaam said unto Balak, build me here 7 altars, prepare me here 7 oxen and 7 rams. This is the revelation that Balaam has from heaven. And Balak did as Balaam had spoken, and Balak offered on every altar a bullock and a ram. So 7 altars with 7 rams and 7 bullock. And then Balaam said, stand by the burnt offering, and I will go and see if the Lord will come and meet me. And whatever he shows me, I will tell you. And so he went to a high place, and God met him, and Balaam said to him, I've prepared 7 altars, and offered on every altar a bullock and a ram. Obviously, that was the revelation he got. He said, I did what you asked me to do. You know, this time I did. And Yehovah put a word in Balaam's mouth, and said, return unto Balak, and thus thou shalt speak to him. And so he returned unto him, and lo, he stood by his burnt sacrifice, he and all the princes of Moab at this United Nations summit. And he took up his parable. See, there's a parallel of what transpired then with what is going to happen in the last days when Israel is going to get all the land from the Euphrates to the Nile. They are going to attempt to keep Israel from taking the land, and what they do have, they want Israel to give back and give away. The land that was given by a covenant to Abraham by Almighty God, they will attempt to take that away from the sons of Israel. That's why it is a parable. It is a parallel, ladies and gentlemen. And so, he took up this parable and said, Balak, the king of Moab, hath brought me out of Aram, out of the mountains of the east, saying, come curse Jacob, come defy Israel. How shall I curse whom God has not cursed? How shall I defy whom Jehovah has not defied? For from the top of the rocks I see him, and from the hills I behold him. Lo, the people shall dwell alone and shall not be reckoned among the nations. Who can count the dust of Jacob and the number of the fourth part of Israel? Let me die the death of the righteous, and let my last end be like his. Abraham's offspring was promised to number as the sands of the sea. Wait just a minute. China and India are not as old as Israel. Just about, but not quite as old as Israel. Yet, China and India, neither of them have been removed from their country, taken away, and dispersed into the nations. They have not been taken out of their land. And China and India are more than 1 billion each. But yet, the sons of Israel, who can even begin to count a fourth part of them? Israel has been taken away and dispersed. Judah, the area of Judea, those have been taken away and dispersed for the 2,000 years. How many Israelites do you really think there are? Because they kept on multiplying even though they did not even know who they were. They're going to need all the land from the Euphrates to the Nile, and that is what the prophets are going to tell us. And they're going to tell us when they get the land. That's why I'm bringing this to you now. Balak said to Balaam, why have you done this to me? I brought you here to curse my enemies, and look, you bless them all together. And he answered and said, must I not take heed to speak that which Jehovah has put in my mouth? And so Balak said, come with me to another place, so that you can see all of them. You need to see all of them. You need to see how many there really are here. And he brought him, verse 14, into the field of Zophim to the top of Pisgah. And he built 7 altars and offered a bullock and a ram on every altar. 7 altars, 7 bullock, 7 rams on another UN summit meeting. And Balak said, let me go see what Jehovah has to say over yonder. In verse 16, the Lord met him and put a word in his mouth and said to go speak to him. And to all the princes of Moab with him. And Balak said, what has the Lord spoken? And he took up this parable. Rise up, Balak, and listen up. Hear me, you son of Zippor. God is not a man that he should lie, neither is he the son of man that he should repent. Has he not spoken, and shall he not do it? Or hath he spoken, and shall he not make it good? Behold, I have received commandment to bless, and he has blessed. I cannot reverse it. He has not beheld iniquity in Jacob, neither has he seen perverseness in Israel. Jehovah, his God, is with him, and the shout of a king is among them. He is not, and so with that prophecy, Balaam is going to use that information to teach Balak, no iniquity, no perverseness in Israel. And so now, what is going to be in the subsequent chapters is that Balaam is going to tell Balak what to do. If the Almighty doesn't see iniquity or perverseness in Jacob, what you've got to do is get them to sin. And so what they did is they used their temple prostitutes to seduce the Israelite men to come in to their temple, to their singles party, and have a fling with the girls. And so what happens is that they end up going into pagan temples and worshiping Easter, the goddess, bare-breasted goddess of fertility, and all of the accoutrements of Babylonian sun worship that is resident within that temple. They got them to do that and to put other gods in the face of the Almighty, and that is the curse that opened the door so that then, bam, Israel could be taken out, and thousands and thousands and thousands died because of that. Let's continue on with this story, though, because this is all about the beating of Balaam's ass. Or what part of Almighty does the United Nations and the Novus Ordo Seclorum, New World Order, not really understand? In verse 25, and Balak said unto Balaam, don't curse them, don't bless them. But Balaam said, did I not tell you that all that Yahweh speaks I must do? And Balak said unto Balaam, come, okay, I'm going to take you to another place. And so, verse 28, Balak brought Balaam up to the top of Peor that looked toward Yeshimon. And Balaam said to Balak, just what he heard from heaven, build 7 altars, sacrifice 7 bullock and 7 ram, and then stand by your sacrifice. And when Balaam saw that it pleased Jehovah to bless Israel, he didn't go out, as he did other times, to seek for enchantments, but he set his face toward the wilderness. He walked out in the wilderness, he lifted up his eyes, and he saw Israel abiding in his tents according to their tribes. And the Spirit of God came upon him. And he took up his parable and said, Balaam the son of Beor has said, and the man whose eyes are wide open has said, he has said, which heard the words of God, which saw the visions of the Almighty, falling into a trance and having his eyes wide open. My eyes are open, and yet I see it. I see it, I understand. How goodly are thy tents, O Jacob, and thy tabernacles, O Israel. As the valleys are, they spread forth. As gardens by the riverside, as the trees of lion-aloes, which Jehovah hath planted, as the cedar trees beside the waters, he shall pour the water out of his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters. Israel's seed shall be in many waters. It's going to encompass the globe. And his king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. God brought him forth out of Egypt, and hath given him the strength of a reem. He shall eat up the nations, his enemies, and shall break their bones and pierce through them with his arrows. He couched. He lay down as a lion, as a great lion, and who shall stir him up? Blessed is he that blessed thee. Cursed is he that cursed thee. And this is the very prophecy that the Almighty said to Abraham. All who bless you will be blessed. All who cursed you will be cursed. And Balak's anger was kindled against Balaam, and he smote his hands together, and Balak said, I called you to curse, and behold, you have blessed them these 3 times. Get out of here. Go to your own house. I wanted to promote you to great honor, but you refused. And Balaam said, did I not tell you? Did I not tell your messengers? If you would give me your whole house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the commandment of Jehovah to do either good or bad of my own mind. But that which Jehovah saith, that is what I will speak. And now I will go unto my people. And then he told Balak what was going to happen to him in the latter days. And then he said in verse 17, I see him, but not now, not yet. I shall behold him, but it's not anytime soon. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel. He's speaking of the coming Messiah who will bring all these things to pass. who will bring Israel back from their exile, who will shake the earth in the last days. Now, let's look at these things. This parable, this parallel. Balaam was almost killed 3 times. He was told, if they come and call you, go with them. He didn't wait. He just went ahead and did because he wanted the reward of divination. He wanted the reward, the blank checkbook. He wanted the power. He wanted the money. He wanted everything that the United Nations could give him. He wanted that authority. He wanted to stand up and be recognized by everyone, to be promoted to great honor. And so he went. And the angel stood in the way to kill him 3 separate times. And he just didn't get the picture. He beat his ass 3 times, just didn't get the picture. And then he took up this parable upon 3 summit meetings with all of the United Nations, in which he is to curse Israel. Now we take a look at what happened. 1993, that was when the United Nations Summit, the Oslo Peace Accord, was agreed to. Now, the Almighty said that he would annul this covenant with death and this agreement with hell. This is what Isaiah speaks of, that Israel's leaders would do wickedly against God's covenant with Abraham. They would boast themselves. They would do proudly. And they would make an agreement with hell and a covenant with death. Ladies and gentlemen, Isaiah's prophecy came true. Israel's leaders entered into the agreement with hell, the covenant with death, in which they would turn over the land that was given to them by a covenant of Almighty God to Abraham forever. Even put Abraham to sleep as to signify it's not even up to his strength. He's going to be dead and in the grave. The Almighty is going to bring this to pass. Abraham is just to be reminded of it because he and his sons forever are to be circumcised, which is the daily, many times a day, reminder that all the land from the Euphrates to the Nile belongs to the sons of Israel. That's what the covenant of circumcision is about. It is a constant reminder that that land is yours forever. Don't forsake this thing. But yet, they decide that they are going to go the way of the United Nations, that the Temple Mount is going to be turned over to Rome, that East Jerusalem will be the capital of the Palestinian state, that they're going to give land that was given to them by a covenant of God Almighty forever. They're going to give it over, and what are they going to get in return? Peace. Isaiah typifies it as a bed that is too short, you can't stretch yourself on it, covers that are too short that can't cover you. It's not going to work, and the Almighty says, I will annul your covenant with death and your agreement with hell. The covenant the Almighty said that he was going to flush by violence is called the Oslo Peace Accord. Oslo in modern Hebrew is the toilet seat. That's what it means in modern Hebrew. Tell me the Almighty doesn't have a sense of humor. In the spring of the year 2000, I was on the Prophecy Club tour. Listen carefully. I spoke at 45 cities laying out the Spring Feast of the Lord, the great secret of Solomon's temple. Every night I spoke 3 to 4 hours, and finally it was all condensed into a 2.5-hour video, the great secret of Solomon's temple. Now, as I was doing this Prophecy Club tour, it's divided up into 3 sets of 13 cities. And what had been done in the past, 13 cities, then you take a break for a couple weeks, then you do 13 more cities, take a break for a couple more weeks. I said at the end of the 13th city, and we filmed the Great Secret of Solomon's Temple, I said, Stan, I want to do this in the rest of the cities now. And he said, you can't do that. Nobody can do it. And he said, oh, I can do it. He said, no, we had one person try it and he quit in the middle of the second week. It's just too exhausting. And these were people only speaking for an hour and a half to 2.5 hours at the most. I was going for 4 hours a night. I said, Stan, this is a message that the Almighty sent me to deliver. I can do it. He said, okay, I'll let you try it. And so I did 45 cities without stopping. At the end of it, I said, Stan, I need to go back and do the fall feast of the Lord. Another 4 to 5 hours every single night. And I took a 2-week break and then I hit 45 cities again. That's 90 times I did that. At the end of it, my staff scheduled another meeting, and at that meeting, my voice went, my throat started bleeding, and I lost my voice for an entire month. I couldn't speak for an entire month, and that is why my voice is hoarse to this day. I can no longer sing, I can no longer hit high notes, low notes, because I ruined my voice because I pushed too hard. I pushed beyond that which the Almighty had made available. The Prophecy Club had started 7 years earlier with Dimitri Duduman, Henry Gruver, and Ron Wyatt. As I finished the 45 cities doing the fall feast, every city I went to was the last meeting of the Prophecy Club, and it shut down. That speaker's venue, of course, I wouldn't endorse every speaker that was on it, neither did Stan Johnson. There were people that went on it were crackpots, complete false prophets, just out there, just absolutely insane, and they were caught. Henry Gruver caught one, called up Stan and said, you either get this person out of here and everything off the table that this person ever done, or I'm out of here. Stan immediately said, let me speak to the MC, and that person's stuff was gone because he trusted Henry Gruver because Henry is a prophet. And Henry caught a liar, he caught a deceiver, a false prophet, because Stan's not out there in everyone. I closed down the Prophecy Club. Several years later, they opened it back up after several years, and I came around and again did Israel's ancient title deed to the land, the Sinai connection. That was why it was opened back up again, to lay this out before the people again. One last time. But ladies and gentlemen, this was a prophetic word that was to go out at that time. And in the spring of 2000, I said, if we've accurately corrected the calendar for the Aviv this year, if we have nailed it correctly, we will see violence erupt in Jerusalem before sundown, September 28th of this coming year of 2000. This was spoken in 90 cities. It was on radio. It was on television. And yet there were people out there who were saying, I was saying Jesus was coming back on September 28th of 2000. No, you idiots, I said. That's why I wrote The Mystery of Iniquity. But nearly a decade earlier, the legal prerequisites for the return of the Messiah. See, most people think the next thing that's going to happen is Jesus is coming back. No, that's not the next thing. You've got to be almost brain dead, scripture illiterate, to even think that. Goodness gracious. And yet, there's so many false prophets out there to nail me to a cross saying he was returning, and it is it's public record. I said, violence will erupt, annulling Israel's covenant with death that was signed in 1993, September 13th, publicly then introduced Yom Teruah, the Day of Trumpets. The Almighty is not going to annul it September 13th. No. Why? Because September 13th is only 7 years on the pagan calendar. The Almighty runs the universe according to his calendar and his time clock. That summer, all was at peace. They saw that the Oslo Peace Accord wasn't working, so they got together for another meeting at Camp David, but that was in July. But then, the morning of September 28th, 2000, Ariel Sharon, not yet prime minister, took his deceased wife's Bible, the book of Ezekiel, went up on the Temple Mount, read the prophecy of Ezekiel about the two sticks coming together in the hands of the Messiah, and that is when the second intifada began. That is when the violence erupted in the land of Israel, right at that moment. And it still goes on today. Thousands of people have died. Thousands of Israelis have died since that moment. That is when I said, it really doesn't matter what calendar anyone wants to go by out there. They want to go by the Mayan calendar, the modern Jewish calendar, the dark moon calendar, the stork calendar, the flowering ibis, whatever. I really don't care. This is the calendar that all of the rabbis agree was in place. This is one that I worked for 30 years to put together the chronological gospels. This proves the creator of the universe runs the universe according to his calendar and his time clock. Because the violence erupted before sundown, September 28th. Why did I say that date? Because at sundown, that would be Yom Teruah. 7 years from when it was signed. It was a 7-year agreement according to them. Well, what happened that summer? 7 years later, Camp David Peace Accord, July of 2000. Another 7-year plan of the United Nations Summit meeting to take the land of Israel from Israel. It didn't pass. It did not follow through. What happened in 2007? The Annapolis Peace Treaty. The Annapolis United Nations Summit. 3 UN summits, 7 years apart, 7 bulls, 7 rams, 7 lambs, and that was punctuated because the Almighty then did something that week. As I flew from Israel into Detroit, the front pages of every paper in America read, stock market drops 777 points. 3 times 7. The beating of Balaam's ass. It isn't going to work. Every time the United Nations and the United States gets involved in trying to take the land of Israel, disaster happens. A no-name storm starts brewing when they start taking Israelites away from their homes that they'd lived in for 30 years. 2 generations grew up there, and they take them out because the United States promises they will give $1 billion to resettle the people. What happens while they're taking them out of their homes and bulldozing their homes and synagogues? A no-name storm starts brewing, and Katrina puts 100 times Americans out of their home in America. Keep beating Balaam's ass, you United Nations freaks, because it's not going to work. Go ahead. Put Obama at the head of the United Nations. Go ahead. You just try the Almighty. 4,000 years ago, the creator of the heavens and the earth made an everlasting covenant with Abraham. All of the land from the Euphrates to the Nile belongs to the sons of Israel. Shockwaves are going to shake the earth now as heaven reaches down to fulfill that covenant. And every nation that stands against that covenant is going to find themselves on the battlefield against the Almighty. Thus saith Yehovah. The warning is out there. Economic collapse was the warning. It was manufactured, and they're going to do it again. An entire day's work for just a bite of bread to put on the table. But don't worry, the oil and the wine aren't really hurt. They're just going to turn everyone into a slave and put this entire world into a tailspin so they can bring about their Novus Ordo Seclorum, their New World Order. But out of Jacob's trouble, Israel is going to be called back from the 4 winds of heaven, even, as Isaiah said, from the land of China.